perspective and all that, getting hit multiple times. Coming out of that bike section, more drivers coming to blows.
AMS track draft is now. This is a random draw this week for the AMS track schedule draft. It has been selected, and now I will show it to you.
Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the American Muscle Series. We're here for round 5 of season 9. This week we are tackling the tight confines of Donington Park in Jolly, England. My name is Randall McGrew. I'm joined in the commentary booth by Andre Dirk Grandbouche, and we have Joshua Wilkie on the buttons and knobs in the virtual production hauler. Andre, we've raced here a few times. What do you expect to see tonight?
You know, I really don't know what to expect. Donington, not a track I'm super familiar with. I've never really raced here in any games or sims and haven't seen too much racing here, but just looking at this layout, looks like a really fast track, some corners that you're going to be kind of coasting through. And then, of course, as we just saw, that chicane right there is going to be a pretty good passing opportunity. So I don't really know what to expect, but I'm expecting a little bit of slipstream maybe just from looking at this place. And I mean, if the rest of the season's been anything to go off of, I'm expecting some excitement, because last week, man, oh man, these last couple weeks really have just been almost too much to talk about. Our poor producers up there in the booth trying to dial up replays and show us everything, and I don't think there's enough cameras on Earth for what these guys have been doing.
Absolutely not. There is action up and down the grid. Speaking of action, let's take a look at those point standings as we have completed 4 rounds of this season. We'll start with the Pro Division, and we'll see that leading the way in the pros, Luis Henriquez continues to lead the way with a 3-point lead over Luke Sudengay. Kevin Parrish sitting there in 3rd place after a very unfortunate start to the season for him. He's making a good comeback, and that's going to be your top 3 in the Pro Division. Then we jump over to the Challenger Division, where we have another good battle going on between Matt Thompson, Mark Cohn, and Levi Powell. Matt and Mark very close together, 3 points separating. And then Levi Powell hoping to have a good race here to close that gap up a little bit and get into that fight for the overall win in the Challenger Division. And then jump over to that much smaller this season Amateur Division. Still pretty exciting to watch. Kevin Berg leading the way with 200 points there over Freddie Weaver. Kevin has won all but 1 race in that division so far this season. We'll see if Freddie has something to say to Kevin this race here at Donington. We have joined the cars during qualifying. They do have 3 laps to set their best time. We're seeing their first initial laps come through, seeing the times on the board. Kevin Parrish currently leading the way with a 1:16.881. I can tell you that the times were much faster in practice, so I don't know how much of that was slipstreaming, how much of that is that the tires aren't quite up to temperature in these cars yet. We're watching Luke Sudengay, who's currently in 2nd. We're going to jump back to Kevin Parrish, who is your provisional pole sitter right now. We'll try to go on board with one of these drivers for a flying lap around Donington, as they will have 2 more chances to improve their lap times. Right now we're watching Kevin. He's about halfway through that lap. Fabian Zweer jumps up to the top of the leaderboard with a 1:16.853, so just a little bit faster than Kevin Parrish. It looks like possibly Dahan O'Toole is sitting in 10th. He might be getting ready to start another lap with Mr. O'Toole. We'll try to jump on board with him as he's coming down the start-finish straightaway now, making his way towards turn 1. You're going to see he blends over into that pit exit, so that could get tricky when the pit cycle is on and people are coming out of that pit lane. Just kiss that inside curb, let the car run all the way out to that exit curb, and then it's kind of fingertips driving through here. It's a little bit blind as you go downhill through the S's, but you want to end up on the left-hand side of this track, so you end up sacrificing this exit a little bit, get that nice straight braking zone as you turn into the trickiest corner on the track at the bottom of the hill, get a good run out of there, open up the corner a little bit here on the left. Not too much though. You don't need to completely open it up. And just keep following the track left, stay to the left, open up this tricky right-hander as you go uphill. This is a very easy one to run wide on. And then you're going to open up, stay to the left, keep this right-hand turn open. It's kind of a blind apex. You come across the crest of that hill and you're not sure where the apex is until you get right on top of it. And it's the most important apex on the track, because it leads onto this long straightaway. You're going to see he stays over to the left-hand side of the track as we have a very tricky and quick right-left chicane here to close out the lap. You really need to abuse the curbs, and this Mustang can definitely handle it. He's going to get through there and try to improve his time. We'll see if that was able to get him up the leaderboard. Fell down to 13th by the end of that lap. We'll see if that improves him at all. It does not appear that he was able to improve. Oh, there he did improve it up to 9th position. So Dahan O'Toole with a good run.
That was a good run. And tell you what, looking at that onboard, that chicane reminds me a little bit of the final chicane in Cirque de Villeneuve, with just how wide it is. What a passing opportunity that's going to be. I think these guys are going to make pretty good use of that.
We have seen a lot of excitement in seasons past there at that very chicane. Some drivers taking those curbs just a little too much and going on a bit of a ride afterwards. Most of these guys, though, have lots of practice here. They did have an hour and 10 minutes to practice before qualifying started, so all the rust should be busted. Kevin Parrish back on the provisional pole here with a 1:16.456. Luis Henriquez is sitting in 5th position right now, and he was the fastest in practice, and so currently only sitting in 5th place. Matt Malone returns this week. He is currently in 4th as we take a look here at Jay Bast. Fabian Zweer going to displace Matt Malone 1 position as he jumps back up to 4th place. But does anybody have anything in the tank still for Kevin Parrish? I'm trying to see it here on the leaderboard. It looks like everybody, just about everybody except for John Casey, Brandon Carl, welcome back, Brandon Carl, and Matt Thompson have completed 3 flying laps. So we'll see if any of those drivers are able to challenge. But right now, Kevin Parrish sitting pretty comfortably with a 1:16.456, just 3/100ths of a second faster than Taylor Ballant. And we have about 3 more minutes here. So, Andre, how do you think you play this from a terms of pit strategy? Do you try to pit early? Do you think the undercut here is going to be powerful? What do you think?
You know, I think it's going to be a little bit like Daytona in a way. I don't think you want to pit by yourself because this is such a fast track, and we saw those lap times in practice were a little bit quicker than what we're qualifying. That tells us that the slipstream is going to be really important here. So you might be at a bit of a disadvantage if you're not in a pack of cars. I don't know. You might want to try to link up with some teammates or some friends on the track if you can. Let them know when you're coming down pit road, but who knows? You know, I could be wrong. Maybe they're going to try to pull a sneaky on them and come down by themselves, try to cycle out in clean air. But yeah, this layout looks so simple on the map, but then you watch them drive around and it doesn't look quite so simple from the car. So we'll see. I definitely think they're going to want to run this thing as long as they can and to try to take as little fuel as possible, because I don't really see much fuel saving opportunity here, Randall. They're using a lot of throttle, not doing a whole lot of shifting. So it's going to be pretty harsh on the fuel usage.
It is going to be a little harsh on the fuel usage, and that's kind of the default strategy in this car that I've seen most drivers employ. The only time that I've really seen anybody mix it up too much, or that I've mixed it up myself, is if I planned on changing tires going into the pit stop. Now we have a track temperature here of 77 degrees Fahrenheit or 25 degrees centigrade. I don't know that they're going to have too much excessive wear on this track. There is a lot of medium speed and high speed corners to kind of chew through those tires, but not a super abrasive surface here classically. So I don't know that we'll really see anybody go for a tire strategy at all. But you're right, that is like the default strategy, just to run it until it won't run anymore, and then come in and get as little as you need and then carry on. It is a tricky pit exit here, though, so you could be coming out into traffic or into a battle, and it could be very, very hairy rejoining the track.
Definitely could. You're going right into a corner, and it's kind of a tight entry and exit in all reality. But we'll have to see. I'm sure they're going to handle it as well as they generally do. These guys are pretty hard to trip up. Some of the best sports car drivers in the sim, as far as I'm concerned. So they'll figure it out. But man, I'm also noticing some elevation changes here, Randall. That is not something again, this track's kind of new to me. So just taking it all in, taking in the sights and sounds. And it makes sense because, being here in England or in the UK, a lot of hills and rolling plains and whatnot going to kind of play into the handling a little bit. I know these things get a little floaty when you crest some of these hills, so that'll be fun. But Kevin Parrish, what can you say about this guy? He has been on a roll these last couple of weeks, just showing some unprecedented speed. And this week, though, I don't think it's going to be a runaway. Look at Taylor Ballant, Luke Sudengay, even Fabian Zweier, all within a tenth. 2 of those drivers in the same 10th bracket. So very close lap times here. Could be a good battle for the lead. We know that Taylor Ballant has been looking for another win and trying to get to that top spot. He's come so close these last few races, and I think he's got the pace, but we'll have to see as qualifying ends, and I believe we got our starting grid.
It looks like there's been an issue with creating the session, and we now have a rolling start after it was most definitely created with a standing start. Kevin Parrish is going to lead them down the start-finish straight with a 1:16.455. Starting next to him, Taylor Ballant. Luke Sudengay going to roll off in 3rd place. Fabian Zweier starting 4th. Matt Malone, the full-time turkey, returns. He will be starting in P5. Luis Enriquez starting in P6 after leading the leaderboard in practice. J Bass Blast starting in P7, Andrew Bailing in P8. Dahano Toot starting in 9th place overall, and on the Challenger Division pole, starting next to him, Challenger Division rival Mark Cohn in 10th.
And outside of the top 10, it is going to be David Moore, P11, Neil Kemp going to be P12, Charlie Hosey going to be P13 as a Charlie Hosey truther. I think he's going to work his way up. I say that every week. Maybe I'm giving him the jinx, but Freddie Weaver going to be P14. That Frito Sport Machine, Ryan Campbell takes 15th place. Jeff Schnackle has grabbed 16th. Look back to 17th, you're going to find Ed Sancinelli in that number 180, right next to Chuck Labano. Running out the top 20, Levi Powell in P19 and Matt Thompson in 20th.
P21, Aaron That Face Bray. Sorry, Finney does not have this soundboard queued up. Jeff Andrews going to start in 22nd. Kevin Berg is going to have some ground to make up to catch Freddie Weaver, who's on the amateur division pole, starting 23rd. Mike Neekum is going to roll off in 24th place. 25th is going to be Dave Blair, last season's amateur division winner. Next to him, the Iceman, hailing from Antarctica, Andy Bell. Brandon Smith is going to start 27th. Next to him, welcome back, Brandon Carl. 29th, Joe Sacchetti. Matthew Gazinda starting 30th. And then rounding out the rest of the field, John Casey in 31st. Tom Winton 32nd. Scott Brooks 33rd. Some guy in the Adam Thompson fan club starting in 34th. I don't think he's actually driving. I think he's too busy running his mouth. And then last in the field, Jeff Bernard rolling off 35th, though really 34th in the number 248. So we have a few seconds here now before the cars roll off behind the safety car, because iRacing's interface is awesome. Definitely was a session created with a standing start, confirmed multiple times, and then I edited it to change the track, and now it's a rolling start because iRacing. So they're going to get their second rolling start of the season. The Wheel of Destiny is not the only thing introducing chaos here for the Mustangs. We'll see if this gives us a tamer start and a tamer entry into turn one, though I think they're still going to be 2 or 3 wide coming down that front straightaway, Andre.
Yeah, that's going to be something. That'll be one sight to see, and we're going to have it all on camera, everybody to watch the action down into the corner. But this rolling start, last time we had one by accident, I think some of the drivers actually kind of preferred it. It was kind of more up their alley. They felt like it saved them some chaos, and some other drivers, not so much, Randall. It was not a popular thing among a few of those guys because they had not practiced it, might not have been super familiar with the rolling start, as they do a lot of sports car racing, which is generally when the lights go out. So going to be a bit of a mixed bag on this start, I think. It generally is when you catch these guys off guard, but gotta love the iRacing session creator. I know I've seen over the years so many times, you make a session, you got everything right, and then iRacing gods, Dale Jr. himself, I think, actually goes in there and messes with it.
Yeah, we'll see if we get through the chicane without much chaos. It will definitely spread the field out a little bit. I won't be surprised if we see Kevin Parrish go very early while the field is still stretched out. He will have the outside line coming through the last corner. We'll see the safety car dip into the safety pit lane, and Kevin's actually going to back him up quite a little bit, so we're going to wait for the green flag to be in the air. Green flag is in the air. Barney waving it, and Kevin Parrish is going to lead the pack down to turn one. It looks like maybe Taylor Ballant caught him sleeping a little bit, or was able to time that start just perfectly, but Kevin's still going to have the inside line. Is a little bit of a nudge there from behind by Luke Studengay, and it looks like, yes, Taylor Ballant is going to have the lead after turn one. Kevin Parrish still fighting there along the inside next to Fabian's Way as they make their way 2 by 2 through turns 1, 2, and 3 down the hill. They're going to see if they start to sort themselves out. We got a little bit of a gaggle here for second as Taylor Ballant is trying to drive away as quickly as he can. So far, so good, but here is the really heavy braking section at the bottom of the hill, and there's some smoke. There's somebody going off. There was Luis Enriquez with one other driver going off, and I'm not sure, maybe, and Luke Studengay. So both those drivers are going to have to get it going back in the right direction. They're going to lose a lot of time.
Studengay going from second to shotgun on the field. That is a massive, devastating loss, but that was just a long snake of cars. He didn't really have any clean, safe area to rejoin until everybody went by. Enriquez was spared a little bit. He got cycled in 21st, but oh my goodness, Studengay going to the back. That is a rough way to start the race. Up front, all this chaos going on. Kevin Parrish to fourth, Matt Malone to third, Fabian Zwire second, Taylor Ballant. I believe we got more chaos in the chicane. Cars backwards, one through the sand. Couldn't quite make out who that is backwards, but cars are scattering, trying to get around him left and right, high and low. I think everybody got through. There was no contact. Luckily, these guys got them cat-like reflexes. That car should be able to get spun around, and we will work on dialing up replays. Here it is. So this is the first incident with Studengay and Henriquez. So Henriquez, I think, either got some contact that got him unsettled, or just got himself unsettled, which put him into Studengay. I think it might have just been the curb there that got him a little bit loose, and unfortunately both those drivers into the grass at a very inopportune part of the racetrack. Not a good place to rejoin. And now back to live scenes for a moment, as I believe we're looking at a battle here. Another moment there with Kevin Parrish. That was not what he wanted to see, but good save nonetheless.
It was he and Andrew Baling getting together a little bit. Kevin Parrish is going to drive away, though. It looks like no harm, no foul. He's going to be sitting pretty handily there in 6th place. He's managed to lose 5 spots here in the opening laps. He's going to have some ground to make up. And this is what happened with Neil Kemp in that chicane. I think it was him and possibly Schnackle there's some contact there. Maybe Schnackle was just an innocent bystander. Schnackle is going to come from downtown and contact the rear quarter panel of Neil Kemp. The steward will not be happy with that. Now, one change for this week, we do not have the live steward. He has had something come up, so we don't have live stewarding, but they will be able to file a protest, and I suspect that we will see some action off of that event right there between Schnackle and Neil Kemp, as we're going to jump back to Mark Cohn and see maybe just running a little bit wide. We're going to jump back to live pictures here. Taylor Blant continues to lead the way as we go. Andy Bell, the Iceman, is going to be struggling for a 2nd week in a row, and it looks like Jeff Andrews also involved in that incident. So a couple drivers here struggling early on. That looks like the exit of turn 1. That track narrows up quite a bit. No, maybe not. Yeah, it is the exit of turn 1. Looks like Andy Bell just got a little bit loose by himself, got tagged, and helped him finish going around. And then Jeff Andrus running wide on his own after that incident. So we still see some action on track with drivers trying to scramble out of the way, trying to keep it on track. We see some battles for position here. We got Jay Bass and Andrew Baling duking it out. Baling going to have the inside line. A little bit of a forearm shiver there out of Andrew Baling as it's going to move him out of the way. Jay Bass is going to get shuffled back 3 spots instead of just 1. And Kevin Parrish is going to have a big run on the inside with a big push from Super Dave Moore.
All right, here's my question, Randall. Did you tell these guys the live steward was not in the tower this week? Because I think maybe they might be driving a little differently than usual. Maybe you should have kept that on the down low. But that chicane is proven to really be a trouble spot tonight. And as expected, I noticed that right away when we got in the session. I was like, yeah, look at that. But nonetheless, great battling all over the place. Fabian Zweier, Matt Malone, Andrew Baling, Kevin Parrish, David Moore. These guys just giving it their all and not really getting separated. Just a bit of a walk away with Taylor Ballant in the lead so far. Taking a look at a replay here, going into the chicane, down the hill. These 2 cars, very brightly colored. You can't miss them. You know, I don't think there was any... That didn't look like there was contact. I'd have to see a different angle, but that almost looked like it was a bit of a reactionary flick of the wheel that kind of got him off track. We do have one more, I believe. So we currently look at live scenes. We'll wait for that to dial up. But Parrish trying to block 2 lanes at once. Pulling a bit of a NASCAR move there. Joey Logano blocked it down into the corner. He's going to pull away a little bit. Give himself a little bit of wiggle room. Really good run out of the corner. Actually, just gained 4 car lengths right there in one corner, Randall.
This shows you what you can, if you get that chicane right, especially with the other drivers behind you battling, that you can really make hay while the sun shines. And Kevin Parrish trying to track down the top 3 now, as there's been a little bit of a breakaway with the top 3 after all this fighting back here for the rest of the top 5. And this is the biggest battle we have going on right now. Super Dave Moore leading it over Jay Bass and Andrew Baling, who've come together a couple times. Jay Bass is going to run a little bit wide, do some groundskeeping here for the boys at Donington so that they don't have to get out there and mow maybe so early. And yeah, he's going to fall back into line now. Super Dave is going to have to defend against Andrew Baling. And it looks like Baling is going to get the run on the outside and get that spot away from Dave Moore. And in the interim, Kevin Parrish has checked out. He's a 1.5 seconds ahead of these guys, so they really need to sort it out, or Kevin's going to drive away from them. He has a big gap ahead, 6 seconds to catch up to P3 Matt Malone. And Taylor Blant's got a little bit of a cushion as well in the lead, a 1 second lead, definitely not insurmountable. But if these 2 start fighting at all, Taylor Blant has a chance to drive away with this. Right now, that gap 1.1 a second, right? And also with the fastest lap so far of the race, faster than the qualifying pole position, 116.162 for Taylor Blant. So they are absolutely cooking, as we see Ed Sancinelli trying to make his way through the chicane with a little bit of traffic. It's definitely harder to do. We see there briefly, we saw Luis Enriquez trying to make his way back up through the field, up to 15th. He was down to 21st, so the recovery is on, as Ed is going to fall back a couple spots here behind Levi Powell and Matt Thompson. They got Kevin Berg right ahead of them. And here's another big gaggle of cars coming into turn one, headed up by Brandon Carl. See if they're able to make it. No, they're not able to make it through clean. I wasn't even able to finish my statement before there was some contact. Some secondary contact there with Mike Neekum, but it looks like no heavy damage on any of those cars as they make their way through turn one, bumper car style. I think you're right, Andre. Maybe I shouldn't have told them that Stewart's not here.
Yeah, you might have said, actually, guys, we actually have 3 stewards this week. They're all watching a different section of the track, watching you like a hawk, It might not be true, but it might keep them in line. I don't know. I think that was just a bit of 2 cars trying to take different lines. It was a bit of an awareness issue. I don't think that was malicious by any means. Just kind of one car coming up, one car going down. But either way, I don't think the intent really matters for the guy that lost a few positions. At least it wouldn't if it were me. We'll have to wait and see. Like you said, those protests are going to be quite fun to sort through. I put fun in very loose parentheses at the end of the night. But in the meantime, Taylor Ballant had a 1.4 second lead. That has withered away, just absolutely evaporated 0.7 seconds. So they've cut away half of that lead. Vivian Zweier, Matt Malone, 1 and 2. I gotta wonder if maybe they're using a bit of the slipstream to do that and to reel in, as it is a 2-car pack, because behind Malone, 6 seconds to Kevin Parrish. It is a huge gap there, so a bit of separation up front. These battles here, though, Ryan Campbell to the inside. That's a brand new paint for Mr. Campbell in the 181. I was looking at that in the Discord earlier. Phenomenal looking car. I'll tell you how good those Frito Sport machines look week in and week out. They do a great job. They're all pretty uniform too. I like that as well. But either way, paint schemes aside, nonsense aside, here we go again down the hill. Looks like David Moore having to play a little bit of defense in that Evel Knievel machine. See if he's going to try and stunt it over these curbs. He will, but he's not going to get the run out. He's going to remain challenged from behind here down the straightaway.
Jay Bass, Dave Moore, Andrew Bailing, these 3 have been swapping positions every lap. Now it looks like Andrew Bailing's able to break away a little bit. We have another gaggle coming into turn 1. Jeff Schnackle and Mark Cohn going to go side by side through turn 1 with Schnackle on the outside. The Schnack attack is on. He is able to secure that position away from Mark Cohn. Mark Cohn in the Challenger division is currently 3rd place in the Challenger division on track. We'll run through the leaders really quickly here. Freddie Weaver continues to lead for the amateur division with a 13th place overall position right now. So far, so good for Mr. Freddie Weaver. Dahano Toot leads the way. We went with him on an onboard lap. He is leading the way in the Challenger division, all the way up in 8th position, just 5 cars ahead of Freddie Weaver. We'll get a good look at that nice paint job that Dan's running. And then Taylor Ballant continues to lead by a half second over Fabian Zweyer and Matt Malone as they continue to pull away from P4 Kevin Parrish. This is going to be the race to watch here. These 3 are probably going to come out of the pits as close together as they go in, and they'll probably go in just this close together. You might not see much fighting out of these 3. We'll see if maybe Fabian decides to try to take it to Taylor to lead a lap at some point during this to get that bonus point. That gap back to 4th place, though, is 7 seconds now, where it was 6 when Kevin got himself free of that battle with the rest of the top 5. We're going to take a look here at Levi Powell, who's behind Luke Sudengay. Luke was shuffled all the way to last place, has worked his way up to 19th. He's going to challenge here for he's in 18th. Going to challenge Ed Sancinelli for 17th. Ed knows when to pick his battles, and he knows he's not going to be as fast as Luke. Runs that outside line, doesn't fight Luke for it. So Luke going to move up another spot. His recovery's on. He's looking pretty good so far. He still has a lot of time to make up those positions.
Yeah, he's got plenty of time. Look at that clock up in the top left corner. Only 11 minutes into this event. Got nearly half an hour to try and scrape together some time. And I'll tell you what, they are kicking up so much sand and dirt on this track. I don't know at what point it's going to start affecting. I'm making up words. It's late. I'm tired. I promise I'm not inebriated. I don't know when it's going to start affecting the handling, if I could just get those 2 words separately. But it will eventually. I mean, the sand is no joke in this game, this simulator. Once they start really getting this track dirty. I know it was actually an issue. I believe, I don't remember where we were when some drivers were struggling with that. It might have been that track in France there last season, but either way, they are making a mess of this place with all the contacts sliding on and off the track. It's been very eventful, and we've got the residue to show for it, the marbles to show for it on the track.
Absolutely. Once you get offline, it's going to be very hard to keep the grip up like you're used to. And, you know, if you're running at a lower graphics setting, you might not even see the marbles out there completely and not realize what you're running into. So you need to be very aware where you're at on track. Chuck Labano here quietly having a pretty good race. Currently running in, now 14th as he gets a clean move done there on Freddie Weaver. Freddie Weaver going to try to do the switchback on him. Freddie Weaver is going to get the switchback on him. He'll have the outside line through this corner, but he's got a head of steam. Going to easily get that spot back, but Chuck Labano up 3 spots from where he started. We'll take another look at that. That was a textbook crossover move out of the amateur division leaders. We see Chuck is going to send it up the inside, and that's really going to compromise his exit. He's not able to get to the throttle nearly as early, and we look behind. Freddie's already gone. He's already alongside and going to be ahead of him by the time they get to the next corner. Just an absolute textbook move out of the amateur driver on a pro.
Yeah, that was quite the move that he made, getting around the way he did, but the battle is not over. Chuck Labano going to hold on just for a moment in that 34, but it is not settled up to the bumper. That slipstream's got him to the tow hitch. Now another battle. Jeff Schnackle, who was involved in an incident earlier tonight, kind of finds himself on the other heel now, trying to defend a little bit from the cars behind. Ryan Campbell, Mark Cohn not far behind. Checking in now with Ed Santinelli in P20, looking down a few potential points to pick up here. Long line of cars ahead of him, and what a run he got through that corner right to the bumper. Didn't think he was going to close in quite that quick, but he's going to challenge for it. And how about some more side-by-side, ladies and gentlemen? David Moore and Jay Bass. These two cannot get away from each other. Maybe 3 wide. What are they going to do? Oh, my goodness. Andrew Baling, Jay Bass, David Moore. You couldn't get closer in pace than these guys have been all day long. And they are showing it. They're going to go through a series of corners, never getting single file, wheel to wheel. Now down the hill into the chicane. Who's going to give? I think it's going to be Baling. He's going to get single file, at least for a moment. They were playing chicken down into that chicane, and I guess we found out who won. David Moore hangs on to 5th place, but Randall, that is not a secure 5th place. I wouldn't feel too confident right now.
I think every one of these drivers has had 5th place 2 or 3 times so far in this race, and we're just 15 minutes into it. We're not even at the halfway point yet, as Dave's going to get a little bit of a reprieve here as Jay Bass and Andrew Baling fight each other through turn 1. This gap will disappear very quickly, but if we take another look at Dave's car, you'll see a little glint coming out of that windshield, and that is Dave Moore smiling from ear to ear. I know that he is having a blast out here racing this close with a couple drivers and getting some good fighting in. Even if it is costing them a little bit of time, he won't care. He's having the time of his life. So Dave Moore right now leading this threesome as Kevin Parrish continues the full way. Kevin has trimmed off a few tenths off the lead trio, but he's going to need a lot more than that if he's going to catch up and close that 7-second gap down. It seems like he's faster in a couple of the sections of the track and then slower in the rest of the sections. I'm trying to keep an eye on sector times. But Taylor Ballant, your race leader, continues to hold the fastest lap of the race by 1/100th over Fabian Zweyer. So that's worth a bonus point. So that'll be big for him. There are some pretty big championship implications this race with Luis Henriquez and Luke Sudengay getting together on the opening lap. They do have 2 drop weeks that they'll be able to use this season, but having to use a drop week in a race where you qualified very strongly and we're looking to have a good finish is never a good thing, as we're going to see. Ooh, I thought we were going to see maybe Freddie Weaver get into Charlie Hosey there, as Charlie Hosey's making the run on the inside on Chuck Labano. Hosey has split up this pair of teammates now and is going to settle in line between the two of them, but he's going to run the outside as Labano's going to go defensive here at the bottom of the hill, and he's going to manage to get the tighter exit, so it's really going to shut down Hosey's momentum as they start to make their way up the hill, and it's all to play for here with these 3. It looks like they're not going to give each other even an inch, as Freddie Weaver's looking to try to get back around Charlie Hosey, and Hosey is looking to get around Chuck Labano. They're making their way up the hill. We'll see if anybody gets a good run out of this corner, maybe slipstream their way up alongside before the chicane. It's like Labano gets a pretty good run out of there. It takes a wider line, but he was able to get to the throttle a little bit earlier, but here comes Hosey with that slipstream. Don't count him out yet. He's going to look to the inside, show the nose. He's not going to be close enough to really go for a move here, but definitely letting Chuck know, I'm here and I'm ready to race.
He got a good exit there, went a little wide there, but he carried a lot of momentum. It's going to keep him there. And Freddie Weaver, you cannot ignore him. He's going to dive down to the inside, maybe make it too wide for P14. See if he can't make the move down to the bottom of the corner. They're going to get side by side. Brake rotors glowing on both those Mustangs. And I think Freddie might be able to get this done. He's got another corner where he's going to be in the optimal line. Should be able to get a good run there. Charlie does everything he can to defend. He's going to keep at the quarter panel, not going to give it up that easy. What a move that was. Not sure he's going to be able to defend this, though. Freddie Weaver down on the grass. Two tires doing some lawn work there. And it is going to secure P14 for Freddie Weaver. One more position up the board. Highest ranking currently in the amateur division. So currently trying to get yet another division win as Pit Road becomes a very busy place. This is a little bit earlier than expected, Randall.
Yeah, Mike Neekum and Matthew Gazinda both have come into the pit lane. I kind of suspect we'll see Kevin Parrish pit pretty early. You really got to do something different when you find yourself with that kind of gap that you need to overcome. So I expect that maybe Kevin Parrish will pit early to try to throw off and do something different and try to gain some ground. That way, as Mike Neekum is going to lead this pair off pit lane, and they will have traffic to contend with as they exit pit lane. Stuff coming down the track is definitely faster than the drivers coming off pit lane. So he had to yield a little bit of space there, and he's going to be under fire from Mark Cohn, as he's actually going to be a lap down. So Mike Neekum was involved in one of those incidents earlier we saw in turn one. It's managed to, the stop has managed to put him a lap down. Jeff Schnackle is also coming to the pits. He was stopped for the longest so far, it looks like, except for maybe Neekum. So yeah, Schnackle with the 16.2 pit stop. That's kind of going to be our watermark for what we're going to see. Normally 16 seconds ish is what we need in most of these races for fuel. We'll see if anybody's able to really capitalize on any sort of fuel saving. Maybe Fabian Zweyer and Matt Malone have been able to save some fuel, but everybody else has kind of been fighting for their life the entire race. Taylor Blank continues to lead the way. He's going to cross the start-finish line here very soon and complete another lap. That will put us serving lap number 16 of what looks to possibly be a 32-lap race. We won't know for sure until the pit cycle is through. But right now, looking at 32 laps, possibly only 31, depending on the pace of these leaders and how well they do in the pit lane. You're seeing some new colors there on the side. We got confused by it last week. We saw briefly there somebody had a yellow flag next to their name. That means that they're serving a slowdown. That means they have a slowdown they have to take care of. If you see them with a black flag, that means they have a penalty. Also, if you see them with the cross flag, the black flag with a white cross, that could be disqualified. That could also be network connectivity issues. I know that's not confusing at all, but that's what it means. And you'll also see the meatball flag if somebody has gotten too much damage and the officials have said you need to come in and fix that car. As Freddie Weaver, he's going to run wide. He's given up a spot to Luke Studengay, who's trying to continue his recovery. He's going to give a spot back to Charlie Hosey. Now he's going to have to fight to get that spot back. You see he's getting into service slowdown. We're going to watch on board here as he comes through this corner and just gets back to the throttle a little bit too early, comes in a little ambitious there. He had Charlie Hosey all over the rear bumper. He's going to watch him drive past now. But Freddie Weaver, I mean, he may be an amateur, but when he is on, man, he looks just as good as some of the pros.
Yeah, when he is really turning up the wick, he has been really good these last few weeks. Just better and better all the time and running inside the top half of the field. Generally a bit of a standout, but Kevin Berg, another standout, 246 machine versus the 229. They're the heavyweights of the amateur class. They really are. These two, you get them together, and it is a battle every time. You never really know which one's going to walk away with the trophy. They both got division wins this season, so that'll be fun to keep an eye on. Charlie Hosey gets around Kevin Berg. Has got some more action on pit road. Matt Thompson in the 133 machine. Going to get that car serviced. Out and away he will go. That is a very rough pit road. My word, I did not notice that before, but they are feeling that one.
There is a bit of slope on the front stretch here, and the pit stalls need to be leveled out. So yes, you do not want to drive through many pit stalls here at Donington, or else you will likely do some damage to the front end of the car or the suspension, as Matt Thompson's going to blend it back out into 26th position. We saw briefly there Luis Enriquez making his way around Mark Cohn back into the top 10. So the recovery run is really on for Luis. He is only down 4 spots from where he started, so this could be a championship run, believe it or not, for Luis Enriquez. Luke Sudengay is up to 13th, so both these drivers doing a very good job of getting their way back up through the fields. We're going to take a look again at what happened here at the beginning of the race. Lap 1, Luis Enriquez comes down the bottom of the hill, just gets a little bit wide. The rear end snaps away from him. He has to gather it up, and in so doing, tags the rear end of Luke Sudengay. Luis ended up shuffled back to 21st, Luke all the way to last place, and they are both doing an amazing job working their way through traffic on a recovery run, as now Luke is trying to get around Chuck Lobano to take 12th position away from him. The pit cycle is on. We see Mark Cohn and Kevin Berg both in pit lane, and so here comes Mark Cohn off of pit lane, and Kevin Berg is now going to get rolling. He had closed that gap up to Freddie Weaver pretty good for the amateur division fight, so we saw a good fight going on for the amateur division win. Currently, Freddie Weaver continues to lead the amateur division. Dahano Toot continues to lead the challenger division, just ahead of Ryan Campbell, his closest competitor. Taylor Blank continues to lead the race as pit lane is staying busy. We're seeing 2 and 3 here at a time. Joe Sacchetti, Jeff Bernard, both still on pit lane as the leaders go by. Some of these drivers going a lap down during the pit cycle. They'll get that lap back. Taylor Blant with a bit of breathing room right now, but he's got some lap traffic ahead. This could be a key time to maybe come into the pit lane, defend yourself of that traffic, but we'll see how he decides to play it.
Jeff Bernard going to try to merge back onto the track. He's got just enough room there. Some cars coming up behind, but able to get to the corner before them. And tell you what, looks like a little bit of damage, I think, on that yellow Mustang there. Hard to tell. That would be Joe Sacchetti. Yeah, I think he was involved in an incident earlier, so a little bit of damage. We'll see if it affects him. It is a bit of an aerodynamic-dependent track, but here comes Ryan Campbell out of the stall, and this is what you were talking about, Randall. This is that treacherous pit road exit. That's got to be a brown fire suit moment for those guys pulling that to the end of the corner there and seeing somebody dart out of pit road. That is scary indeed.
Yeah, and coming out of pit lane, you're not ever really sure if you're going to be clear to take that apex or not. Sometimes fortune favors the bold, and it worked out in Ryan Campbell's favor there. He was clear and did take that apex as we watched Brandon Smith roll out of pit lane. Looking at the stop time so far, it looks like maybe Matt Thompson. No, Levi Powell with a 13.92 stop time. So Levi either saved a lot of fuel or short fuel, and it will cautiously earmark him for the Thompson Trophy for fuel management. We'll keep an eye on him towards the end of the race, see if he needs to come in for a splash and go or possibly have some fuel trouble. That could be a deciding factor for many people's races. If we get that extra lap in here, it could throw a wrench in some plans, and we could see some people having to save fuel, having to come in as Luke Sudengay is going to drive through a bunch of pit stalls and wear out the front splitter on that Mustang, as we see Dave Moore pulling out of pit lane. Dave Moore with a 15-second stop time. So on the faster side for Dave Moore. Dave Blair also in pit lane. He was up 11 spots whenever he came into pit lane. So Dave quietly having a good race. Both the Daves having a good race so far. Luke Sudengay rolling off pit lane. Dave Blair has been having a good race. That front end of that Mustang looks a little unhappy, but Luke's going to have the newly returned Brandon Carl there all over his rear bumper as he comes out of pit lane, but he's going to be able to easily keep that spot. We see Fabian Zweyer with a slowdown. We're seeing a bit of fighting here, so Zweyer's going to pull off to the side to serve that slowdown. Matt Malone's going to move up to second place. The full-time turkey is maybe going to look to take a bite out of Taylor Blant here before they make the pit stop, but they're going to carry on for another lap. We're serving lap 21 of what looks to be a 32-lap race, possibly 31 laps, and not yet seeing the leaders come into pit lane. We are seeing some action from some of the front runners. Dahano Toot, Jay Bass, Kevin Parrish have all come in. Kevin Parrish was running in fourth, kind of on an island. We'll see where he trickles out, and if he's able to gain any time here on the pit stop. Looking for some other times here, seeing if anybody's faster than a 13.92, and I'm not seeing anybody quite yet. Oh, here we go, 13.2 for Dan Ott. 13.83 for Jay Bass. So we do have some quick times coming out. Kevin Parrish was a 15.7. So unless the top three really take a long time on pit lane, I don't think he's going to gain anything off of the pit stop itself. Getting very, very busy here at the pit exit. Chuck Lobano going to be rolling out possibly into some traffic, and he's got one car there to the inside that just drove by him. That was Luke Sudengay. So Luke able to get that spot away from Chuck I don't know if that was purely on strategy or if he had already gotten that spot away from Chuck or not, as we take a look at the returning Brandon Carl sitting in pit lane in the Waifu Mustang, trying to get some fuel in that car. He's been stopped for quite a while, but he comes out with a 13.82 stop, so pretty quick stop for Brandon Carl on his return. And now the leaders are in, so Carl just staying ahead of the leaders and staying on the lead lap. All three leaders in top five, the entire top five in pit lane right now. We're going to keep an eye on this to see who's going to come out with the lead here. It looks like Malone's going to get the roll off first. Taylor Ballant is going to be able to react and going to get that position covered off. So Ballant is going to have the lead, but he's going to have lap traffic in the form of Scott Brooks directly in front of him. Fabian Zweyer going to fall back, and they're going to be coming out into lap traffic. So it's going to be a battle of the lap traffic. Who's able to manage the traffic the best, as they got Mike Neekum, Jeff Andrews, Scott Brooks, and soon Brandon Carl to contend with among this top three. Not really something we see a whole lot in this series, but they're getting a lot of lap traffic early in the race here, as we have just about 12 minutes left to go in this race. Scott Brooks is going to run wide and is going to keep it out there and let Matt Malone get by him. So the top two have a bit of a cushion back to Fabian Zweyer, who's got a gaggle of lap traffic ahead of him to deal with.
Yes, he does. And before these leaders came into the pit, there must have been something we missed, as Fabian Zweyer and Matt Malone were pretty much nose to tail for a long time. And then for a few laps before they pitted, I noticed that Matt Malone really drove away. He got within a few tenths of the leader, and Fabian Zweyer kind of dropped back by about a second. And now that gap is 2.7, but I don't know if Fabian just made a bit of a mistake, if there was some traffic or what was going on, but some separation there. It did not exist. Now it's going to be Matt Malone. Oh, he had a slowdown, says the producer, so thank you for that info. That is what separated them in the last corner. Must have cut it just a little bit too much. And that leaves Matt Malone on him all by himself to try and challenge Taylor Ballant, who has led the majority of this race after that lap one chaos that we saw. Kevin Parrish fell out of the lead and lost a significant amount of time. In the meantime, these drivers, Taylor Ballant navigating a little bit of defense, I reckon. For a minute, I thought that car behind him was a lap car, but no, that is Matt Malone. And chaos breaking up behind him. Fabian Zweyer 3 wide, except one of those cars is bouncing through the grass. Never ideal, but able to get back on the circuit. That was a bit of a punch moment for Fabian.
Yeah, Fabian had definitely going to have some big eyeballs underneath that helmet as he saw the driver going off track, just praying that it doesn't come back on sideways. Matt Malone has usurped Taylor Ballant for the fastest lap with a 1:16.141. He's also the fastest pit stop with a 13.08 stop time. So Malone making some moves here around the pit stop. We got about 10 minutes left to go in this race, and taking a look at my calculations here, it looks like it's going to be a 31 lap race. Probably not going to get that 32nd lap. So anybody struggling for fuel is probably breathing a sigh of relief as we see a battle of the midfield and the back markers here. We got Joe Sacchetti here involved with Mark Cohn, Luke Sudengay, Andy Bell. You got two guys trying to make their way up through the field. Two guys just trying to hold on for dear life on different laps, all fighting for position. So Joe Sacchetti, Andy Bell, both fighting for position. Sudengay and Cohn also fighting for position. Speaking of fighting for position, here comes Matt Malone. The full-time turkey is really giving the business to Taylor Ballant here. He has found something here in the closing stages of the race. He wants to get ahead now. It seems like he is not interested in working together any longer. They got a nice gap back to Fabian Zweyer. So not only did Fabian have that slowdown, he also had a 1.5 second slower pit stop than Matt Malone. So he gave up a lot of time on the pit lane as well, which is going to account for most of that gap that he has now. That's 3 seconds up to the leader and about 2.5 seconds up to Matt Malone, as Malone is really sticking it to those curbs and using every inch of the racetrack, as Zweyer is going to use every inch and a few more, running real wide there at the exit. And that's going to give some slipstream back to some of those lap traffic cars behind. Kevin Parrish continues to hold station in 4th place. That gap to Fabian is about 4.5 seconds. The gap to the leader about 9.5 seconds. So he was not able to make any space up to the leaders on pit strategy. And then Andrew Bailing, Jay Bass, Dave Moore all still kind of close together. Dave Moore's fallen off a little bit off the other two. but he has a chance to get it back as we watch Taylor Blanton sticking the tail out there, coming down the bottom of the hill. Going to see if Matt Malone is able to get any sort of run going here. What is your strategy here, Andre? With 8 minutes left in this race, you're sitting in second place. What are you doing?
You know, I think I'm going to ride. I think I'm going to apply the pressure. I don't want to play my cards too early. Kind of hide the fact that you've got the pace, because I think Matt Malone might be a little bit quicker than Malone. I mean, he's pretty much run him down on pace alone. He didn't really get him on the pit cycle. I mean, he was only 4/10 back when they entered the pit. So he closed in about 2 seconds on raw speed alone. And I think there's plenty of passing opportunities on this track. So just don't show your hand too early. You know, sometimes you make a move on somebody and they see, oh, so I can do that too. And they dive into the corner. The next lap, they reverse it on you. That's never ideal. And I know that Mr. Malone especially has an affinity for last lap battles and races seeming to slip between his fingers. I remember a couple seasons ago at VIR, it was a three-way battle. It looked like he was sure to win it. He had the lead momentarily, and away it went on that last lap. So maybe just trying to be a little patient here, stay at the bumper, and wait for the right opportunity.
Malone may not have gotten many races in the Mustang since the last time he showed up here in AMS, but he's gotten plenty of races under his belt in the meantime. No rust on that car at all, as he is really applying the pressure here to Taylor Bland. If Taylor makes even the slightest mistake, Malone is going to be there to take advantage. You see Malone is really getting that curb there at the apex, coming across the hill. He's able to get a little bit of a run off of it, but I think it's maybe doing him more harm than good. You see Taylor running a little bit wider, is able to get to the throttle a little bit smoother, pulls away a little bit on the straightaway, and now they close back up as they get to the chicane. And you see Taylor is definitely not as confident or as stable on the curbs, and this could be the opportunity Malone was looking for. Taylor's going to definitely keep it over on the right side of the track and force Malone to go the long way around the outside as they approach turn one. Malone going to open up that entry a whole lot to see if he's got enough steam in that train. No, not quite, as Blant is going to give him the business right back and push him all the way out to the exit curbing. Malone looked like maybe he was looking for the cross over there, not quite getting it done. As we take a quick look at the track map just to see where we're at here, they're coming down the hill. Malone all over Taylor's bumper. We still have 5.5 minutes left in this race, so Malone definitely prodding, poking here, trying to force a mistake, maybe trying to find a weakness here in Taylor Blant. Taylor Blant, though a little frenetic, has been the measure so far, as Luis Enriquez is going to flash with the slowdown, and hopefully that doesn't cause him a position, is that he will lose one to Jeff Schnackle. He was fighting for a position there. It looks like the slowdown has cleared, so he's going to continue to fight for that position. But Luis Enriquez has quite a good recovery run so far.
Yeah, he was all the way down, I believe, to 24th when he rejoined the track after that incident early on. So all the way back up to 10th. That is a charge. He really has made a lot of overtakes. And, I mean, we'd expect no less from Luis. He is, oh my goodness, a little bit of contact there, and he, like the gentleman he is, he gets out of the throttle and prevents that from going any further, but it does not take away from the great recovery he has had down to P11 now, but has another opportunity, has another 5 minutes to get back inside that top 10, and if he can get a top 10, that'll be one of the most impressive top 10s of the year as far as I'm concerned. Just look at a bit of a replay here. Matthew Gazenda gonna get a little bit.
See him dealing with Neil Kemp getting a run on the inside. What happens here is he just gets the brake mark wrong, has to panic brake, bails off onto the Grand Prix layout temporarily to get the car slowed down. Yeah, maybe a hardware failure there for Gazenda. We'll see if he parks it or if he continues carrying on. It looks like he continued carrying on, as now we're going to jump back to Luis Enriquez trying to track down Ryan Campbell. It looks like they've all gained a position off of this, so I'm not sure what happened there, but they did all gain a position. Now we see Matt Malone and Taylor Blant fencing for this win, as Blant is going to go defensive into the chicane. A little bit of a slide there from Malone, but he's going to keep it pointed in the right direction and keep right there on the rear bumper of Taylor Blant. They're now serving a lap 30, so 2 laps to go as they cross the line. So it's gloves are about to be thrown out the window here. I think they're going to start breaking off mirrors and not even paying attention to them, as they're just going to be going all out for lap time, trying to either keep the car behind you or try to get around the car ahead of you. Right now, a little bit of a gap here forming, but I suspect that will close up very quickly here in this big braking zone. And Matt Malone looking to get this win away. Fabian's Ware might actually be in the catbird seat here, Andre. If these two get together, it wouldn't be the first time I've seen it here at Donington that the guy in third place a few seconds back ends up getting the win.
It would not be the first time. And with the way that Taylor Ballant and Matt Malone have been racing, it's been aggressive. They've definitely kind of been intimidating each other up there. You never know. And Fabian also has just had really good speed all night. I mean, let's not forget, before that slowdown out of the last corner, he was right there with Malone. And I think if it had not been for that, he'd be a part of that battle. It would be a 3-car battle up front. He's got every bit of the lap time he needs to compete. Kevin Parrish, P4, he was kind of down the running order a little bit. Got back up to P4, hasn't looked back since. But Freddie Weaver, current amateur leader, and got a decent lead over Kevin Bird. So if he can just hang on for a few more minutes, it'll be another division win for Mr. Weaver. He's currently battling with some other divisions. Chuck Labano ahead, Levi Powell behind. And Levi Powell, when I say behind, it ain't far. It is filling up that mirror of that Mustang right on the bumper. And this right here, speaking of Kevin Bird, having a bit of a moment there with Joe Cicchetti. I think that damage, Randall, is really hurting Cicchetti back there. He is off pace even on the straightaways. Not looking too good, but making the best of what he's got.
The leaders will now have taken possibly the white flag as no, I'm sorry. It will be 2 laps to go this time as they are on lap 30. Now they're on lap 30. They'll be getting the white flag this time when they go by as they come across the top of the hill. So hold on to your seats. You might only need the edge. While we wait for this battle to kick off, I want to tell you, hit that like button, hit that subscription button, hit that notification bell. That way you know every time Slow Motion Broadcasting goes live with more exciting race action just like this as Taylor Ballant and Matt Malone come through the chicane for the penultimate time. And they're going to have some lap traffic to deal with as well in the form of Tom Wint, maybe Andy Bell, maybe Brandon Carl. It does not look like Tom Wint is going to yield quite yet. Ballant is going to go defensive into turn 1. Malone going to be right there on his rear corner. How are they going to deal with this traffic? Is the traffic going to play nice? We'll find out here very quickly as Tom Wint is going to be flashing the brake lights to let these drivers go by them in a very, very tricky part of the track. Malone able to keep that gap very, very minimal. So good job, Malone, having to run offline through the S's and manage to keep the foot in the throttle as they're going to come their way up the hill now. Come to that back straightaway for the last time. They're going to have Andy Bell in front of them, possibly giving some slipstream to the leader. We'll see if he surrenders that position or if he's just going to continue running his line. The blue flag is informational only in this league, so he is under no compulsion to get out of the way as Taylor Ballant is going to get a nice, decent run here. We do see some brake lights flashing out of Andy Bell, so he is going to yield as best as he can without giving up too much time. But Taylor Ballant is going to lead. He's going to have quite a gap and maybe some fuel trouble there for Matt Malone as we see him slowing down. He's not getting a good run out of that corner onto the straightaway. Taylor Ballant's going to come through the chicane and he's going to cross the line. See that checkered flag waving in the air. Taylor Ballant is your winner here at Donington. P2, Matt Malone.
It was a good effort by Matt. Not quite enough. Fabian Zweier going to bring it home P3, and Kevin Parrish P4. But a little bit further down the track, it's going to be some other divisions. Dan Ott looks like he is going to get a Challenger Division win. That is a great run for that Mustang. P8 overall. And a little bit further back, you're going to see your amateur winner, Freddie Weaver. And again, he's got quite, well, I don't want to call him the winner too early. We don't want to call our shots here, but he does have a good gap on Kevin Bird out of the final corner. And to the start-finish line, Freddie Weaver puts another one on the scoring pylon. Number 1 once again as everybody else cycles through, gets to the line. What a race that was. That is 3 weeks for 3 weeks, but there is almost too much action to even talk about it all. And we are going to see some celebration and some blowing off steam, cars going down into the grass. Charlie Hosey, I think, has had enough of this place, as evident there, but boy, oh boy, that was a fun one.
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon Smith, Brandon Carl. The Brandon's going to cross the line together, nose to tail. And I think Charlie Hosey was looking for a parked car to hit. He hasn't found one yet this week. So he has a clean run. We were ribbing him in practice. He managed to hit a driver that was spun out on the side of the road. He said it was like he had forever. It was like the Titanic running into an iceberg. As we watched Matt Malone and Fabian Zweyer pull into the pit lane after the end of this race, going over the rough stuff in the pit stalls. They don't care anymore now. And we'll wait for those official results to come in. We'll go through them together, and then we'll have some interviews for you. The winners from each division. That will be Taylor Ballant, Dahan O'Toole, who we haven't talked to yet this season, and Freddie Weaver, who we have talked to this season. So good run for those guys, waiting for those results to come in. I think we still had a couple drivers maybe finishing. So, and there we have it. Taylor Ballant, your winner by 1.2 seconds over Matt Malone. Fabian Zweyer in third. Kevin Parrish started on pole position, brings it home in fourth place. Andrew Baling survives the three-way fight between himself, Jay Bast, and Dave Moore to take fifth place. Jay Bast in sixth, Dave Moore in seventh. Dahan O'Toole, your Challenger Division winner, finishes in eighth place overall. Jeff Schnackle in ninth, and Luis Enriquez rounds out the top 10 on an excellent recovery drive.
That it was outside of the top 10. Ryan Campbell going to be P11. Luke Sudengay, after that lap 1 incident, he was all the way in last place, got up to P12. Also a great recovery. Mark Cohn, P13. Chuck Labano was fighting all race long for 14th, and he was able to get it. Freddie Weaver wins his division at 15th overall. Levi Powell, P16. Kevin Berg, 17th. Matt Thompson brings it home at P18. Back to 19th place, it is going to be Charlie Hosey after a late race slowdown, and then Ed Sancinelli going to be P20.
P21, Dave Blair, who had a very quiet race, managed to stay on the lead lap, finishes 21st. Brandon Smith in P22, right ahead of the returning amateur Brandon Carl in 23rd. He was the last car on the lead lap. Mike Neekum, the first driver, 1 lap down in 24th. Jeff Andrus, 25th. 26th, Scott Brooks. 27th, the geriatric racer Jeff Bernard. Joe Sacchetti, who was struggling tonight, had a lot of damage on that Mustang, brings it home in 28th position. 29th is going to see Matthew Gazinda, who we saw with a big moment going there into the last chicane. Andy Bell going to be the first driver 2 laps down. The Iceman cometh in 30th position. 31st, Tom Went. 32nd, John Casey. Neil Kemp, who we saw turned pointing the wrong way in the chicane very early in the race, is going to finish in 33rd. Aaron Bray, not really sure what happened to him, but we did see him disconnect very early. I think maybe some connection issues for Aaron That Face Bray, and some guy named Randall McGrew didn't even start the race, finishes 35th. So another race on the books here in the season of randomness. We saw a random rolling start. We had a random track. I picked the layout randomly. We had track usage set at a random level. And now we're going to talk to the guy that survived all the chaos and managed to win this race, Taylor Ballant. Tell me, what were you thinking there in the closing stages with the full-time turkey there on your rear bumper?
Oh my goodness. Do you guys have a bucket? I got to wring out my shirt here. I was sweating, fellas. It was something else. Having Matt Malone pressure behind you is a real thing. Let me tell you. I thought he had the move a couple of times, and thankfully I was able to shut him down. But a lot of fun to race him at the end of the race there.
How worried were you about fuel and the possibility of running an extra lap?
My fuel calculator is pretty accurate. I don't usually have any problems with it, so I was pretty much counting it to be accurate the whole time. I was in the early stages saving quite a bit to make sure I didn't have to take more than the 3 gallons. But it was definitely on my mind for that first stint, and I could tell that's the only reason I was kind of walking away from Fabian and Malone there, as they had to have been saving fuel too. I said, well, they would be catching me if they weren't. So.
Well, it was an exciting race, and we expected a bit more fireworks there on the last lap. You guys had some lap traffic to deal with. How did you feel about having lap traffic to deal with on top of having that kind of pressure from behind?
Yeah, it was difficult. I think I passed Tom Went 3 times during the race, and the first time I even got on the voice chat and just said, excuse me. And then I don't know. It didn't go very well. The next 2 times he tried to get out of the way as best he could, even going off track on that 3rd time. And then coming up on a friend of my stream, Andy Bell, he he just did exactly what he was supposed to do. He kept his line. I was able to take the inside, and I don't know if Malone just kind of gave up at that point or what. But yeah, I was expecting a big pressure into that last chicane as well.
Well, congratulations on getting the win here at Donington. Before we let you go celebrate, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I want to shout out my fiance for letting me race tonight. She's watching my stream and watching the race, and just thanks for letting me go play. And shout out to you, Randall, for running a great league. Had a lot of fun here in the 2 years I've been here so far.
Well, congratulations once again, and maybe we'll talk to you again before this season's over.
I sure hope so.
That was your overall in Pro Division winner, Taylor Ballant, and we're still waiting to see Dan Ott pop up in the waiting room. So in the interim, Andre, I hear you found Freddie Weaver.
I believe I did, Mr. Weaver. You got a copy?
I got a good copy, 10-4.
Oh, Freddie, you got another one on the scoreboard, another division win. This season's just clicked for you. I don't know what it is, but you have found something this year, just week in, week out, chipping away at it, getting the results you need. Tell me a little bit about your race.
Well, if I told you I downloaded that track 15 minutes before the session opened, would you believe me? 'Cause,
Well, I'm not calling you a liar, but it'd be hard to believe.
I did. I actually, and you know what? I picked it up quick. I was shocked. I was setting 118 within about 5 or 6 laps of it, and I couldn't believe I was doing it.
That is really impressive. This is a track that seemed to get a bit of a mixed reception from the drivers, and it looks like a challenging track just from our perspective up in the booth to basically get in a car with no preparation and just figure it out. That is quite the skill to have. Maybe that's the edge you have, that adaptability. Seemed like you were kind of never on your own, right? You were never in no man's land. You were always either getting challenged from behind or trying to pass somebody up ahead. How busy of a race really was it for you?
Very busy. I was sweating at the end. I borderline probably blocking, but I was trying to defend and save as many positions as I could because I need those extra couple points to try to catch Kevin because he's just killing it this year.
It's going to be a good points battle for sure, and we are having a lot of fun watching it play out. Well, before we let you go, Freddie, anybody you'd like to shout out or thank?
Yeah, I mean, Frito Sport, I'll thank those guys. I've been racing with them this season and help out a lot. My big motivation is finishing ahead of Tom Wentz, so I'd like to shout out Tom Wentz for allowing me to the crap out of him tonight. Didn't get the lap him, but, you know, I did good.
All righty. Well, thank you for your time, Freddie. We're going to let you go celebrate, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again soon.
I hope so. Have a good night, guys.
All right.
That was your amateur division winner, Freddie Weaver, and championship hopeful in the amateur division. So it looks like Dan Ott had to run, didn't have time to talk to us. So I'm going to take the opportunity to make fun of him a little bit because this is what I was going to talk to him about in the interview. Dan Ott was absent last week, and he was absolutely fuming that the Wheel of Destiny picked his favorite track, Daytona Road, on the week that he couldn't make it. And he was not very happy to see Donington come up. It's a track that he says that hate is a strong word, but it's also accurate. He does not like Donington. So he was begging, can we have Daytona again? Because I missed it last week. And now, look at it. He finished 9th place overall, wins the Challenger division. Like, quit your crying, dude. Just get out there and race. Good things will happen to you. Good things will happen. So Dan Ott, not able to join us for the interview, but I'm still going to make fun of him anyway. But that wraps it up for us. Andre, final thoughts, Donington, the rest of the season, what do you got?
Well, you know, like you said with Dan, bit of a surprise winner. Not that we don't think he can win. It's just he did not like this track. So, you know, if you're listening to the way that he was talking, you're thinking no way he's going to pull out a win, but he does. Gets his first win of the season, and then Freddie Weaver tightening that amateur points battle even more. It ain't over till it's over, and I think that's going to be a ton of fun, and it may come down to the very last race of this season. And on the pro side of things, another one. Matt Malone has won in this league, but there is so many times he has finished second place. It's got to be a little frustrating for him at a certain point, but it was a good race all around. good first impression of this track for me. Again, I really know very little about this place, and if this is what it's like, I would like to see some more action out of it, and maybe in some other series.
Donington's one of those tracks that always seems to deliver some excitement, be it in the chicane or at the bottom of the hill there, that very tricky turn 4. Always seems to catch somebody out, especially early in the race. Always provides the broadcast with lots of action throughout the race. Speaking of the broadcast, I want to ask you one more time, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. That way, you know, every single time Slow Motion Broadcasting goes live with more exciting racing action, just like you saw here tonight. I also like to give a shout out to Mike Neekum and the D-Nut Stuff Etsy shop. Go check out the D-Nut Stuff Etsy shop, link in the description down below, where you can find some AMS swag, some brake mods, some pedal mods. You can get your favorite iRacing PDF made into a laser etched slate. And we have a new series coming up here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Take a look at this. The FRO Series Ferrari Road and Oval Challenge with 3 divisions: the amateur division, the pro division, and the silver division, coming here to you here soon on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And if you want to sign up for this league, check out the Slow Motion Broadcasting Discord, where you can find all the information you need to join the Ferrari Road and Oval Challenge. Frock. What are we frocking talking about? Ferraris when we got Mustangs on track. More upcoming broadcasts. The week is always action-packed here around Slow Motion Broadcasting, so keep your eyes on the live channel here. Be here next week, next Tuesday, as we complete the first half of Season 9 for the American Muscle Series, and we have no idea what the track's going to be. You're going to find out about an hour after the rest of the world, or after the league finds out. We pick it 20 minutes before the practice server goes live. We have no idea what it's going to be, so you'll be finding out with just about everybody else if you're right here live for the broadcast. But that's going to put a button on it for tonight. My name is Randall McGrew. I've been joined in commentary by Andre Dirk Grandbouche. We've had Joshua Wilkie, the talent type there in the virtual production hauler, on the buttons and knobs. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'll be seeing you again here throughout the week for all of your racing action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.